Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
Representatives from Arizona's Apache Junction Police Department released dramatic surveillance footage this week. Video which they allege shows the moment an elderly man crashed his vehicle into a crowded bar while under the influence of alcohol. The incident took place just before 8:30 p.m. on September 7th at the Apache Junction Elks Lodge building. The organization was in the middle of hosting a well-attended prime rib dinner when the suspect, 73-year-old Thomas Kane, reportedly got behind the wheel of his truck in the parking lot. Kane was apparently attempting to leave the premises, though instead somehow ended up hitting the accelerator instead. Newly released video shows how the vehicle came barreling through the establishment moments later, taking down anything and anyone in its path. Thankfully, it appears no one was killed as a result of the incident, though at least 30 people were injured. According to police, 15 victims needed to be taken to area hospitals after the crash, with one person arriving in critical condition. They are now stable and expected to survive. Kane was arrested at the scene, and police say that they believe that alcohol played a role in the crash. However, at the time of this recording, they're still awaiting blood tests to determine the extent of his alleged impairment. The 73-year-old has been charged with 12 counts of aggravated assault, 17 counts of endangerment, as well as DUI. The Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control also say that they are conducting their own independent investigation in order to determine the cause of the situation and the events that led up to it.
Representatives from the NYPD say that a 55-year-old man has been slapped with numerous charges this week following a wild road rage incident in which he allegedly stole a tow truck that was getting ready to haul off his illegally parked vehicle. The dramatic incident unfolded sometime on September 9th, when the victim, an unidentified tow truck driver, was called to remove an illegally parked Chevy Silverado pickup from outside of a business in Brooklyn's Sunset Park neighborhood. The black pickup truck had reportedly been left in front of the doors of a loading zone, though some sources state that the vehicle was simply being repossessed. Either way, what happened next was truly unhinged. The tow truck driver had gotten the pickup onto his hitch and was in the middle of securing it when he was confronted by the vehicle's owner, later identified as 55-year-old Russell Lyosa. And let's just say, he wasn't too happy to discover what was going on. In video footage recorded by witnesses, Lyosa can be seen screaming at the tow truck driver and making threats. He allegedly tried to fight the driver in the street while yelling things such as, quote, "Dude, put my f***ing truck down now," and quote, "I'm warning you, motherfucker, get the f*** away from my truck." When the freakout failed to stop the tow truck driver, the 55-year-old took a much more desperate and dangerous approach. After jumping behind the wheel of the tow truck, Lyosa allegedly began to drive down 53rd Street with his own pickup still attached. In the video, you can see as the driver's side door is ripped fully backwards on its hinges as the vehicle begins to smash into numerous parked cars lining the road. Before long, the pickup, which appears to have only been partially secured, flies off completely and rolls across the street. Thankfully, it seems that no one was injured as a result of the incident, though it's easy to see how things could have turned out differently. Police announced that Lyosa had been arrested a few days later and is now facing charges including robbery, grand larceny auto, reckless endangerment, leaving the scene of an accident, and 11 counts of property damage.
The family of a 24-year-old engineer are expressing their heartbreak and devastation after he was recently found brutally murdered in the middle of nowhere, and it was announced this week that his best friend has now been charged with the crime. The case began on August 15th when worried loved ones of 24-year-old Elijah Bradley reported him missing. Family members stated that he had last been seen on August 12th, just one day after his birthday. They became concerned after they were unable to reach him and discovered that he had failed to show up to work. While speaking to police, Elijah's mother explained that she had been able to track his cell phone to an apartment. That apartment belonged to his friend, 23-year-old Samuel Bush. However, when the woman got there, the phone turned off and the tracker disconnected. On August 19th, authorities headed out to a section of desert in the town of Gila Bend after GPS data was recovered for his vehicle. When they arrived, they found the vehicle, along with a horrifying crime scene. Elijah had been shot and decapitated. Though Samuel Bush was initially only arrested on drug offenses, That changed this week when he was charged with a number of crimes related to Elijah's death. Those charges include second-degree murder, abandonment, concealment of a dead body, and tampering with physical evidence. So far, no motive behind the crime has been revealed, and Elijah's family members say that they are at a complete loss as to why any of this happened. They say that not only was Elijah Bush's best friend, he was his only friend and had known him since childhood. Elijah's loss is even more heartbreaking because loved ones say he had only recently graduated from university and had just started working in the engineering field. In a statement, his aunt said in part, quote, "It's devastating. He was just beginning his adulthood. I don't feel a relief or anything because it doesn't bring him back. It doesn't fix anything." At the time of this recording, Samuel Bush remains in custody.
Authorities in Polk County, Florida are reportedly investigating a chilling case of deja vu this week after a teen allegedly murdered his own mother just over a year and a half after he also killed his father. This week's disturbing incident began on the evening of September 8th when Polk County Police received a 911 call from 17-year-old Colin Griffith. The teen stated that he, quote, had a fight with his mom and she is bleeding from the neck. He claimed that she had lunged at him with a knife during the altercation and had been injured when she missed and fell on top of it. If that sounds hard to believe, well, apparently police aren't buying the explanation either. When they arrived at the scene, they discovered that the victim, 39-year-old Catherine Griffith, was actually suffering from 2 deep knife wounds to her neck, neither of which was consistent with an accident. When questioned about what had happened, Colin reportedly became uncooperative and demanded to speak to a lawyer. Sadly, Catherine was pronounced dead at the scene. After speaking with some people close to the family, investigators became even more certain that Colin was lying to them. A neighbor who had witnessed part of the attack stated that she had seen the 17-year-old and his mother arguing outside of the Auburndale property where the incident took place about 2 hours before the 911 call. The neighbor said that she wasn't sure what was being said, but that things appeared heated. Things had escalated when Colin allegedly grabbed Catherine by the hair and pulled her inside. It's now alleged that Catherine had traveled to the residence, which belonged to her own mother, to try and bring Colin home. He apparently went to his grandmother's house after a fight with Catherine about chores, knowing that his grandmother was away for the weekend. For her part, the grandmother told police that this was far from the first time that Colin had been violent towards Catherine. She claimed that he had threatened and assaulted her numerous times before, including one incident last year in which he pushed her to the ground and stomped on her because she took away his video game privileges. In that incident, he had been charged with domestic battery. Of course, the thing that caught the attention of authorities the most was the fact that this was not even the first time Colin had killed one of his parents. Just over a year and a half ago, on Valentine's Day of 2023, he fatally shot his father, Charles Robert Griffith, during the middle of another domestic dispute. That incident reportedly took place in the family's home in Lincoln County, Oklahoma. When police were called, Colin claimed that his father had chased him through the house with a knife and that he only shot after he was cornered in a bedroom. Charles was hit in the chest and head and was pronounced dead when officers arrived. Despite inconsistencies in Colin's story in that case as well, first-degree murder charges against him were ultimately dropped. At the time, authorities stated that they had been unable to rule out the teen's claim of self-defense. The 17-year-old is now facing first-degree murder charges once again, as well as kidnapping and violation of a no-contact order. Speaking about the case, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd stated in part, quote, "Colin Griffith is a violent predator. He has now killed both his father and his mother. We will hold him accountable in Polk County. We will do everything we can to keep him separated from civil society."
Authorities in DuPage County, Illinois, say that they're investigating the aftermath of a horrifying domestic violence incident this week after a local man allegedly shot and killed his wife during the middle of an argument in front of one of their young children. The situation began at around 11 a.m. on September 5th when police in the city of Warrenville received a call from 39-year-old Stephen Kramer. Kramer reportedly stated that his wife, 47-year-old Jamie Newman, was injured inside of their home. When officers arrived, Kramer met them at the door and directed them to an upstairs bedroom. Inside, they found Jamie lying on the floor, her face and body covered with blood. Sadly, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Following an autopsy, it was revealed that Jamie had died of multiple gunshot wounds. She was reportedly shot a staggering 6 times, with 1 bullet hitting her right arm, 1 hitting her left leg, 1 striking her in the face, and 3 hitting her in the chest. It's now alleged that Kramer fatally shot Jamie during the middle of a heated argument that morning. The pair had apparently previously decided to get divorced. Kramer turned himself in at a local police station shortly after the crime, and is now charged with first-degree murder. Perhaps the most disturbing part of the whole situation is that the deadly shooting reportedly happened in front of the couple's 4-year-old daughter. Thankfully, the child was physically unharmed. However, her and her 2 sisters have now been left without a mother. A GoFundMe page set up for the children reads in part, quote, "Jamie was loved by everyone who knew her, and leaving her girls behind is not something she would have ever chosen. Sadly, her life was cut short due to domestic violence, leaving all of her daughters parentless. We love and miss Jamie deeply, and we hope this fund will help provide her daughters with some semblance of stability and hope for the future."
I don't know what it is this week with guys doing dumb shit in pickup trucks, but this next story might just take the cake. Authorities in Boulder, Colorado say that a 48-year-old Massachusetts man is facing a litany of charges this week following a dangerous hit-and-run rampage, one that ended on the football field of a local university. The whole thing started at around 6:45 p.m. on September 12th when Boulder police were called about a collision near Arapahoe Avenue and Foothills Parkway. Witnesses stated that a man was driving erratically in a blue Toyota Tundra and that he had struck multiple vehicles before fleeing the scene. They had tried to stop him. However, he had nearly hit one bystander and had gone on to run down multiple trees and street signs. When police caught up with the driver, later identified as 48-year-old Massachusetts resident Carl E. Haglund, he wasn't any more cooperative. He continued his destructive rampage, refusing to pull over while hitting additional objects on the road. The rampage only came to an end after Haglund allegedly rammed his truck through the gates of Folsom Field, a football stadium belonging to the University of Colorado Boulder. Even then, he only got out of his severely damaged vehicle following a standoff with officers. The shirtless 48-year-old was captured in a wild photo as he stands in front of his totaled pickup truck near one of the field's 30-yard lines with his hands in the air. Haglund is now facing a number of charges, including criminal attempt vehicular assault, reckless endangerment, vehicular eluding, 3 counts of leaving the scene of a crash after damage, failure to obey traffic control device, driving without insurance, criminal mischief of $100,000 to $150,000, obstruction of a peace officer, and trespassing. It's still unclear why he was driving recklessly in the first place. The University of Colorado, meanwhile, say that they are working to repair the damage to Folsom Field. They hope to be done by the time of their next home game on September 21st.
Authorities in Kentucky say that the manhunt for an extremely dangerous suspect has officially entered its 2nd week after a hail of bullets were unleashed on terrified motorists along a section of interstate. The incident began sometime after 5:30 p.m. on September 7th when police in Laurel County received reports of multiple people injured on a section of Interstate 75 about 9 miles north of the city of London. According to witnesses, they had been driving down the highway when they saw a man with a rifle near exit 49. The man had set himself up on a ledge about 30 feet down a cliff at the side of the road before opening fire randomly on motorists. When officers arrived, they encountered a chaotic scene. At least 12 vehicles had been struck in the barrage of gunfire, and 5 people had been directly hit. While all of them survived and are now said to be in stable condition, some suffered extremely serious injuries. One was hit in the face, while another was hit in the chest. Unfortunately, the suspect had fled the area by the time authorities got there. However, police were quickly able to identify him as 32-year-old Joseph A. Couch. Couch is said to be a former Army reservist who served between 2013 and 2019 as a combat engineer. It appears that Couch was identified largely thanks to unsettling text messages which he sent to a woman roughly 30 minutes before the attack. Those messages read in part, quote, "I'm going to kill a lot of people. Well, try at least." Couch went on to say that he was going to take his own life afterwards. Though the woman, who some reports identify as Couch's ex-wife, alerted police about the texts, it seems that they didn't contain specific details about his plan. Upon further investigation, authorities recovered a vehicle registered to Couch, a phone with his battery removed, and a rifle believed to have been used in the shooting. It was discovered that Couch had purchased the weapon earlier that same day, along with a sight and 1,000 rounds of ammunition. Ammunition and shell casings were also found near the scene. A manhunt was quickly launched for Couch, one that involved dozens of officers, as well as helicopters, canines, and off-road vehicles. Much of the search has been focused on the Daniel Boone National Forest, which borders the area where the attack took place. However, the rough terrain has been challenging for authorities, who have referred to it as jungle-like terrain. At the time of this recording, the manhunt has officially entered its second week, and authorities are hoping that with their continued efforts, they can ratchet up the pressure on Couch. Given the content of his text messages prior to the shooting, they say it's possible that he has taken his own life, but that they can't take any chances. They are hoping that he is still alive, and that he's running low on supplies and will soon have to reveal himself. In the meantime, officials have warned the public to remain vigilant and to report anything suspicious that they come across. So far, no information about a possible motive behind the terrifying incident has been released. The search continues.
Representatives from the Federal Bureau of Investigation say that they are investigating a disturbing act of political violence this week, following an alleged assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. The incident took place on the afternoon of September 15th, as the former president and current Republican nominee was playing a round of golf at his club in West Palm Beach. At around 1:30 p.m., Trump was on the course when a Secret Service agent who was positioned one hole ahead noticed something alarming. In an area of bushes close to the fence that lined the property, they saw what appeared to be the muzzle of a gun. This turned out to be true. According to reports, a man had positioned himself with a rifle equipped with a scope about 300 to 500 yards away. Secret Service agents opened fire on the man, who dropped his weapon and began to flee. It's unclear if he also shot at the agents before running. Moments later, witnesses saw the suspect jump into a black Nissan and drive away. Thankfully, they managed to capture photos of the car, helping authorities with an identification. The man was pulled over roughly 2 hours later while he was driving north on Interstate 95 into neighboring Martin County. He was apparently unarmed at the time and was taken into custody without much issue. As authorities investigated the crime scene, they found multiple pieces of evidence in the area where the suspect had been positioned. This included the rifle that Secret Service agents had seen, as well as a GoPro camera and 2 backpacks, which were hanging on a chain-link fence. At least one of the backpacks contained a ceramic tile. Former President Trump was unharmed and was immediately evacuated from the area. The FBI has since stated that they are treating the situation as an attempted assassination. While law enforcement have not officially named the suspect, media reports say that they have received information from credible sources identifying him as 58-year-old Ryan Wesley Routh. Not much information is currently available about Routh and his alleged motives, but here's what we know so far. According to reports, Routh has ties to both North Carolina and Hawaii and has had several run-ins with the law going back a couple of decades. Most of these cases appear to be financial or tax-related, though at least one in 2002 reportedly involved Routh putting his hand on a firearm and barricading himself in a business following a traffic stop. As for political affiliations, Routh appears to be all over the map. Reports state that several social media accounts believed to be owned by the 58-year-old were found in the hours after the incident. His most recent activity suggested that he was supporting Democrats in the upcoming election, though he had also expressed support for Republican primary candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. In 2020, Routh made several posts referring to his support for Bernie Sanders and criticized Joe Biden. He also made posts suggesting that he had been a Trump voter in 2016, though had since become disappointed with his time in office. The 58-year-old's main focus, though, seems to have been on the ongoing war in Ukraine. On social media, he expressed his ardent support for the nation and even stated that he had traveled to Kyiv shortly after the war began. According to reports, he tried to join Ukraine's International Legion for the Defense of Ukraine, which is comprised of foreign volunteers, but was turned away due to his age and lack of military experience. This week's incident has prompted condemnation from representatives across the political spectrum. The crime is especially disturbing considering it comes just 2 months after a previous attempt on former President Trump's life at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Though Trump put out a statement thanking the Secret Service and law enforcement in general after the incident, some, especially Republican politicians, have called for greater security measures to be put in place for him. The FBI, the Secret Service, and other law enforcement agencies say that they are still investigating to figure out exactly what happened. At the time of this recording, Routh remains in custody, though official charges have yet to be announced. The situation is still developing. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.